welcome everybody. Welcome to Woolen Spinning. My name is Rachel and I can be found pretty much everywhere as Woolen Spinning. I'm just going to adjust my camera a little bit. I just realized I left it from the other day. If you guys are noticing there's a little bit of an echo in here, it's not you, it's the room. The room is echoing a little bit because normally this room is chock full of stuff and it is like full of like wool and fiber and there's stuff all over the floor and I have it all in piles and I have it all organized. I know where everything is and it is empty. And the reason for that is that we are moving tomorrow. So a little bit of stress, a little bit of je ne sais quoi. So we are sort of keeping our heads above water, but there's sort of the normal sound absorption that we have in here from all of the wool and yarn and fiber and whatnot is not here. There's nothing behind me. There's nothing on the floors. It's very weird. I do still have the rug down. It won't come out of here until everything else is moved, but yeah, it's very weird. And then right as I was gonna get ready to put the final touches on myself getting ready to stream with you guys, the phone rang and I had to take it because there's a playoff game tonight that we are going to. It is not Whitecaps. It is with the Northern Super League, which is the women's soccer league. And the team that we support, which is the Vancouver Rise, are playing tonight locally. And of course we have seasons tickets. So of course we got first dibs on playoff tickets. So of course we are going. And a friend of ours who's also going and also has seasons tickets called because there is going to be a player signing at the in the evening and it's going to be one of the Whitecaps. And I am looking at you guys who are in Germany. You guys will know who this is. Dagmar and Amanda, if you are here. Thomas Mueller is going to be doing autographs this afternoon and this evening, and then he's going to do the coin toss for the start of the soccer/football game. So for those of you who follow international football, i.e. soccer if you're in North America, Thomas Mueller is a German national. He is one of the most celebrated German players ever. He played for Bayern Munich for eons, and he has just recently come to the Vancouver Whitecaps. We love him here. He's selling out BC Place, which is no small feat. And anyways, he's been a really wonderful addition to Vancouver. And of course, we are deep into playoffs for the Whitecaps as well. So we have tickets for one of the games here in Vancouver in a couple of weeks. So yeah, big deal. But kind of threw me off because I was like in stream mode and like getting ready for you guys mode, and then I like had to switch to soccer mode. It's just like boof. Anyways, thank you so much, Pauline. She says have so much fun tonight. It's gonna be really fun because we have seasons tickets, so we'll be sitting with all of our football mates in our little area. Everybody has tickets for tonight. Everybody got them. So because you get first right of refusal for playoff tickets if you're a seasons ticket holders. So of course we're all going. So it'll be really fun. It'll be a lot of energy in the crowd. Anyways, enough about football/soccer. Welcome to everybody who is here. I see we've got Lily and Elaine, and we've got Dagmar, Kaylee, Christine. I'm not even going to try to name everybody. Welcome. We have had our time change in North America finally, so we're all kind of back in line again. So it's wonderful to see everybody here today. I want to mention next week, before I forget, next week. Next Tuesday is Remembrance Day here in Canada, and on the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour we pause for a moment of silence. And of course at this time of year we're wearing our poppies from the Canadian Legion to support those who served in any of the wars and in any of the conflicts worldwide, who are a part of the Canadian Army or the Canadian Navy. So the Wool Circle next Tuesday would normally air at 11 a.m. And so in respect to our veterans and those who are currently serving, as well as our nationwide moment of silence that happens on the 11th day, the 11th hour, the 11th month, the wool circle next week will be 1 hour later. So it will be at 12 noon next week, 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. So please just make a note of that, and it'll be in the Patreon post, but just remember that it's 1 hour later next week. So very, very important, and obviously something that we take very seriously here. And then sort of around like noon, 1 o'clock-ish on Remembrance Day, things kind of, there's a lot of parades and there's a lot of things that happen in the morning, but usually by about noon, 1 a.m., things are sort of done for the day. So Rebecca and I felt that we should still have the wool circle. We'll just move it an hour later. All right. I know Christine, she says pressed flowers. So what am I wearing? I'm wearing my pressed flowers. I haven't worn it on the stream for a while. You're absolutely right, Christine. And I don't know why, because I actually wear this sweater all the time. It is one of my most worn recent sweaters. So recent in terms of like having made in the more recent history. This is the link to my Ravelry projects page. And it's funny because, it's hand spun. The gray though, so the color contrast is hand spun, but the main color is actually a commercial yarn. I think it was Disdero Ranch. Yeah, Disdero Ranch. And yeah, I wear it all the time. I think the only thing that I wished that I had done a little bit differently is make the, I don't know what the best way to show you is. I don't want to get poked by my pin. I wish I had made the drop shoulder a little bit deeper. And at the time I was a little bit lighter than I am now, and it was fine. It was perfect. But now just, you know, I'm a little bit bigger than I was, gained a little bit of weight, and that's totally fine. But you know, we are where we are. But I just I wish I had made it just a little bit bigger through the shoulders, because to add one more row of the flowers up here on the front and the backs wouldn't have been a big deal, and I had yarn left over. So that's the only thing that I wish I had just given it a little bit more ease, but I wear it all the time, so that's really good. All right, we've got a little bit of housekeeping to do before we get into the show. So let's do that next so that we have it out of the way and you guys can ask any questions that you have about it. So let me just turn myself off and get everything started. There are some changes coming to the woolen spinning community in September. We are super excited to start sharing them with you. Please ask lots of questions for clarity and let me know how I can help you navigate it all. Ketchup and Pickles goes out on the 1st of the month each month. They contain all the links and announcements that you need to navigate content and events. Be sure to grab this post when you see it in your email inbox. Dion explores another color topic this month in the teaching content. Dion's color content will be available at all levels of Patreon support that you see active on Patreon at this time. Look for the companion Zoom group on Patreon to participate more fully in exploring color in your hand spinning practice. We're at a really exciting time with the Wool Circle because our Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs is starting the final part of our 2-year study. We will be looking at novelty and art yarns from now until Christmas. Please join Rebecca on the Wool Circle. Look for the free trial. Another module of Breaking a Braid for the Silk Circle has been released. Head to Patreon, log in, and watch directly. Enjoy! Spinning Staples, Color Mania, and Queries are dedicated Zoom groups with Rebecca, Dion, and myself, Rachel, to answer questions, navigate the book study, explore color, and discuss in-depth hand spinning concepts. Access a dedicated community of spinners who are exploring their craft and inspiring one another. Our community groups meet informally throughout the week. Look for the Zoom link in Slack at the time of the meeting. These onboarding calls are an opportunity to ask questions, learn about Slack and Patreon, and get help navigating content. The post with the meeting link goes live the night before on Patreon. Everyone is welcome to join. Okay, I had to laugh because I was catching up with chat while the housekeeping video was playing. And Lily was saying it's entirely possible that I've become obsessed with crocheting those sunburst squares. Anyone else caught the same addiction? I see you. I hope that you feel seen. I see you. I feel you. I'm kind of having a bit of a love-hate relationship with mine at the moment, but we will talk about that later. I think I've actually figured it out. So I think I'm on the other side, I think. One note, sorry you guys, one note, oh, this is all messed up. I will fix that. One note about, that is really weird that it's all messed up. Hang on, you guys. Just give me a sec. Let me just fix my head because I look very odd. I think that I have fixed my sunburst problem, I think. So I will, I'll share that with you guys in a little bit. In the meantime, Woolen Spinning Radio has been released for this month. It is the audio podcast that goes with all of the streaming stuff that we do here. It is free. It is available anywhere that you get your podcasts and wherever you listen. This month, because of the conversation from last month in October, where Dion and Rebecca and I sat down and were chatting about Knit City and we were doing the big recap, and you guys said that you actually had a lot of fun watching that episode or listening to that episode, so that was really great. I reached out to my friend Melissa of Mellyknits and said, hey, do you want to come on the radio show and chat a little bit more about this slurpiness that seems to be a thing when you want to have really cohesively blended, prep, mostly bats, but prep that blends things like cotton, possum, wallaby, Angora, cashmere, some of the fibers that are really super fine that sometimes can be really difficult to blend. And so she came on the show. She's like, I don't think I have anything more to share. I'm not sure that, there's anything more for me to say, but I'm happy to come on and chat about it and answer Rebecca's questions, etc., etc. We had a lot of fun. It was a fun episode. A couple of people have commented in the Slack channel about how much they enjoyed the episode. I talked to Melissa at the gym the other night because we work out together, and I said to her, do you want to come on the show regularly and maybe every 3 or 4 months or whatever? And she's like, that would be really fun. So we sort of thought that instead of her coming on and talking about a specific topic, or coming on and us drilling her the whole time about washing fleece and fiber prep and whatnot, I think we've kind of covered a lot of the stuff that we can talk about and share in that format. And of course she talks about it on her channel, on Instagram, etc., etc. So we sort of thought that she would come on and just be a part of the conversation. So no matter what we're talking about, no matter what, she has really great questions. She's very thoughtful and very reflective. And so between her and Rebecca's amazing questions, Rebecca's missing today, and I feel like I'm missing my left arm, because I'm so used to having her in the chat. They both have a really an uncanny ability to get to the heart of the matter, the crux of the matter, and they can ask questions that are very thoughtful and evoke a really wonderful reflection and chatter. So we're in the process of figuring that out. So thank you to those who've already given us feedback about that episode. We had a lot of fun recording it, and it is available now. All right, I think that's all of the preliminary stuff that I needed to talk about. I have a really fun spin along to share with you guys after the credits, and a cameo from Dion. Okay, so some of you guys who've been a part of the community for a long time and have sort of been around over the years, particularly around the December holiday season, will remember and know that just from being around and being on Slack and being in the Zoom groups and whatnot, that you've heard Dion talk about SpinDecember. So SpinDecember is this opportunity for all of us to sort of come together. It's no pressure, no stress. It's supposed to be very low key and basically to pull from your stash. And Dion's going to talk about how she does it, but because we're coming to this a bit late in the year and we haven't planned it all year like Dion does, Rebecca and let's be honest, it's me. I got really excited about maybe the possibility of sort of doing this year because I've got quite a few things that I need to finish prepping and would like to start spinning. I probably won't get them finished in SpinDecember, but it's more like making it a priority to do it in December. Dion actually spends the whole year collecting fiber for SpinDecember, so it's a little bit different from how many of us are going to be able to do it just because we haven't been collecting stuff all year. But if you have remnants from your projects from the year, and you want to throw it all together and do it the way that Dion does it this year, that would be awesome. You've got all month of November to collect stuff. And if you have some remnants from spins throughout the year, grab it all and put it in a bag and keep it separate. If you want to set up and do a specific project, you can do that as well. You could focus on spinning on spindles. You could focus on finishing a specific project. It is totally up to you and how you want to do it. So without further ado, I'm going to let Dion take it away with explaining SpinDecember and explaining what it is. And if you guys have any questions in chat, please go ahead and ask them. And also, I want to hear from you guys what you're working on right now while we're doing the live stream, because I can't work on anything while I'm doing the live stream, but you can, and I want to know what you are. I have a bag of fiber that didn't make it onto the wheel of Intuitive Fleece. Perfect, that would be perfect. Okay, let's find SpinDecember, and I will press play, and you guys can have a watch. I'm really curious about with SpinDecember. Part of what I'm really curious about with it is that it was something that you have like talked about over the years, quite regularly, and it like comes up, and I just you really sparked a curiosity in me this year when you were going through it and you're showing like some of your yarns and stuff from previous.
Yes.
So let's start off with what is SpinDecember and why is Rachel so ridiculously excited about this?
Okay. I just decided to call it SpinDecember because in December I tried to do something special because I have a lot of time off with my husband and we do family trips, but I wanted something creative, special, and something that gave me a glimpse back of my year and what I was working with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, I got the general idea from Jillian Eve. She did have a box where she would put her fiber in there, but I kind of put my own twist on it where I would pull off fiber off of stuff I was working on, or I would take bits that come with a new spindle when you buy and they send you those little samples. I would throw those in there. And then sometimes I would be working with something and think this would be good to go in December, like a little bit of silk, a little bit of, sparkle. And so that's kind of how I start accumulating my fiber bits.
And as the year goes on, do you find that you are thinking quite intentionally about it? Like you're thinking it's always in the back of your mind throughout the year?
Mhm. Not really. I just know that when I switch to a new fiber, I tend to pull off a little piece. I don't want it to take up that much space.
Yeah,
I
fair enough.
agree.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because it's supposed to be exciting because you're going to see all these new fibers all over again. They're in smaller quantities, so now you have to think about color management, and then you have neutrals too. And so it's kind of like, ooh, what am I going to do with all this? How am I
Yeah.
going to approach this? You know?
Yeah, that's so cool. So
Yeah.
how did you mentioned Jillian Eve, but how did you sort of start with this? Like what go take us back to, when you first started doing this.
Okay. I started by actually getting a container for my fiber. I kind of wanted to see it. I wanted it to be somewhere where it was very prominent. So I bought a probably 14 by 20 shadow box.
Oh, big.
Yes, it was pretty big. And so what I did was it was held closed with a magnetic door, and I would roll up my fiber in a little roll and I would put a little pin in it because you could pin things in the shadow box. And so I have, here's a picture of what it looks like. And every time I walk past it, because I put it in my hallway, so a nice prominent place, I would see all the pretty colors or all the neutrals. And it was really kind of exciting and it became a piece of art too.
Mhm. I remember when you used to post photos of your shadow box. Like you're reminding me now. I remember that. And it used to end up stacked up. Like,
Yes.
oh yeah, because that was back when I first met you. That is so cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So for somebody who hasn't done this before, we're kind of springing it on them at the last minute because we should have introduced this in January back at the beginning of the year and we didn't because we just didn't even think about it. Um, but now with you coming on board, Dion, and everything, we really wanted to sort of make Spin December a bit of a thing, kind of like Tour de Fleece every year or Spindle Spun season that we do in the sort of July, August, September timeframe every year. Um, we wanted to make Spin December sort of a new fixture in the woolen spinning community. So we're kind of springing it on them at the last minute. So this is the first week of November right now that everybody's seeing this. So how can they get started so that they'll be ready in December to actually be spinning? And probably everybody needs to keep it a little bit smaller maybe for the first year.
Yes, exactly. The amount of fiber doesn't matter. So I'm not looking for a specific amount of each fiber. I just want bits of different fibers. So one of the things you can do is a lot of us get those sample fibers to
Yep.
work with. And sometimes we're like, well, what are we going to do with this? You can pull those out of your stash and just put all those together. And you can look in your stash for maybe a few neutrals you might want to throw in there and put those in. But it's one of these times where I like to challenge myself. So another thing you can do is there may be fiber in your stash where when you bought it, you loved it, and now it's been sitting there for 4 years and you're like, pull off a piece of that, throw that in there, you know. And so it's not something where you have to start out with buying all new fiber. That's not the point at all. It's just going through your stash and looking at what you have and pulling a little bit of a few different things.
And when you're pulling your stuff out, you actually ended up talking about it a little bit recently on one of the Zoom groups
Yeah.
because people were asking you what you were doing and everything. So how do you approach yours when you go into you keep it in bags now.
hmm
What do you do? How do you get started with, do you prep for Spin December? Do you start your prep on December 1st or do you have everything already prepped for December 1st? What do you do?
I start my prep on December 1st.
So it's a
I,
project that's in and of itself in December. So you start
yeah.
prepping in December. Okay. So what would you do with that bag of fiber that you showed us a few weeks ago? What would you do with that to get
Okay.
yourself started on December 1st?
I have two bags. I have one full of all color and the other is all my neutrals. And so what I would do is I would just dump out my color and decide how I might want to split it. Any way you want. It doesn't matter. In as many groups as you want.
Mhm.
So that's what I do. And what I may do is after I do that, I may decide, okay, I want this to be lighter, this batch of colors to be lighter. So I might pull out a little white from my neutrals. Or maybe I want to tone it down because it's too bright. So I might pull out some black or some brown to kind of tone it down, or even some gray. And what I'm trying to do is when I'm separating, I'm making batches of yarn, basically when I'm separating. Yeah. And then I kind of, after I have my piles, I actually bag those up separately, all my different piles. And then I work on one at a time. And I decide, okay, do I want to blend this completely
Mm,
or do I want some of the colors to show through?
mhm.
And I kind of go from there.
That
And
makes
so
sense.
then, so then I think, is there color in this batch that I absolutely don't care for? And if it is, I most likely will decide to blend it to
Mhm,
see what happens. And so, say I blend this one batch of fibers all together, and I get something that's possibly too green looking for me.
mhm,
So then I think, okay, what else do I have in these other batches that could possibly change that greeny, swampy green more to a bluey green?
mhm.
And then I'll pull that and throw it in the batch so I can change the color.
So it's really like experimenting, painting with fiber. You're using your drum carders. In November's Color Mania, you're going to be talking about color tools, so this ties in perfectly.
Yeah.
And as the month goes on, do you try to get all of the yarn that you prepped?
Mhm.
Sorry, all the fiber that you prepped. Do you try to get it all spun within that month of Spin December?
No, no. Because the idea is to have fun, not to put too much pressure on yourself. So I just go through each of those separate bags that I separated one at a time, blend them a little, a lot, whatever,
Mhm.
change them if I want to, and I'll spin that one first bag up. And then I'll go to the next one, decide, okay, maybe I want to pull out a few fibers because I just don't like think they're going to work for what I want. And then those fibers will go, in the next bag.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So my goal is to just go from bag to bag and just when I get through, I get through.
And do you put your other projects on hold when you're doing this for December?
Sometimes, sometimes I do. If I feel like I may pull out a bag and I may just decide I just really don't want to deal with this right now. So I don't.
Mm. Yeah. And you put it away.
Yeah, so I'll put it away and I can either go to the next bag or I can go to something I'm already working on. Because
Hmm.
I try to keep a sweater spin going most of the time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
your sweater spins are usually your own prepped fiber, correct? So you're working through something that's a relatively big project. You can kind of pick it up and put it down, store on storage bobbins, spare
Hmm.
bobbins, and you can kind of come back to it when you want. So then Spin December gives you a little bit of a break when and if you want it.
Yes,
That's so
exactly.
cool. And then what do you do at the end of the month?
Hmm.
You've maybe worked through one of your bags, maybe you're halfway through your second one. What do you do with the remaining fiber that you ended up not using that year?
I try to use everything.
Yeah,
If I don't, I may just leave it in the bag for the next year.
fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that you have a lot of bits and bobs? Like you do so much blending and so much like experimentation stuff. Do you find that you do actually use up most of your fiber?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do. Hmm.
Yeah. Because I feel like you're always like on the hunt for new things because you seem to have gotten to that point where your stash isn't maybe always completely turning over, but you do seem to have a fair amount that comes and goes in and out of your stash, like that whole idea of a living, breathing stash.
Yes.
Has it always been like that for you, or has that been something that's evolved over time or you've gotten to?
Mhm. It's something that has evolved over time because one of the things I noticed was that one braid spins are nice every once in a while, but what I realize is that I've always wanted a little more fiber to do
Yeah.
something. A shawl, maybe even a vest. And so just doing one braid constantly just left me with a lot of one skein yarns.
Oh
So then
yeah.
I started consciously prepping bigger amounts of fiber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've been doing that for quite a long time now. And I think when you prep that big amounts of fiber, you do tend to get through your stash much more quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. And you work a lot from fleece too, right? So does the fleece, when you've washed your fleece and you've done does that end up in your Spin December bags too?
Yes. Some of my fleece has to go in the SpinDecember bags.
That is so cool.
And that tends to be more of my neutrals, is what I've
Yeah.
noticed.
Okay, that's so cool. Okay, I hope you're excited about that. I hope you're excited about SpinDecember. One of the things that I really enjoy when I'm talking to Dion and Rebecca, they both have what I would consider a much more dynamic relationship with their stash than I do. Their stashes seem to turn over a lot faster than mine does. And one of the things that I've been working toward for the last number of years is trying to sort of get things in and out a little bit quicker. I have quite a significant hand spun stash, and one of the things that I actually packed for going to my mom's place for the next 4 months were a whole bunch of those skeins of yarn that are those one-offs from Braids of Fiber. And I also packed a whole bunch of 8-2 cotton in natural, which is not white and it's not unbleached white. It's kind of a little bit tweedy almost, and it's neutral. It's a cream, but it's a little bit more textured than that. And I'm hoping to put on a massive warp onto the loom. I don't think I'm going to be able to get the warp wound before we move on Thursday, because I'm filming at Sweet Georgia all day tomorrow, and the packers are coming tomorrow, and then we're actually physically moving on Thursday. So I don't think that I'm going to get it wound between now and Thursday, because my massive warping board is actually I'm not bringing it with me. My mom has no space for it. But I am hoping to wind quite a long warp, and I might have to do a couple, and then designing some overshot, some float work while I'm at mom's, and weaving off at least 4 stoles. And the float work or the overshot, the supplemental weft, will be in these one-off skeins of hand spun. So I'm sort of trying to figure out ways of working through some of this stuff and working through some of my stash to get to a point where more like where Rebecca and Dion are, where things come in and they go out, and things come in and they go out. Because I think there is something that's really nice to being able to sort of start fresh every so often, being able to look in a couple of your bins and be like, yep, I'm ready to add X, Y, and Z, and that'll work really well and complement. One day, I will get there one day. Textured yarn, our ongoing book study for our Spinner's Book of Yarn Design. Rebecca has been making up an absolute storm, and she's spending a whole bunch of time right now in the Wool Circle talking about boucle. So if boucle is something that you have always wanted to make, it is something you've always wanted to learn how to do in different fibers and different things, you could join the Wool Circle. Look for the free trial on Patreon if you are not a patron and you're watching this back later, and all of those episodes for the Wool Circle on boucle will all be available to you no matter when you join. Christine asks, could Felicia store your big warping board for you? It's just going to get packed. That's a great idea, Christine. The problem is that the Sweet Georgia studio from my house door to door, from my house to the studio, is actually an hour and a half with traffic. When there's no traffic, it's about an hour. But unfortunately, it's just a little bit too far. She does have one similar, though, that I could probably use if I wanted to wind a bigger warp than on my smaller. I have an Ashford warping board that warps 11 yards, which is a fair amount. But my big board warps, I feel like it warps more like 50 yards. Like I can put a massive warp on. The other thing I thought too was I really need to think about trying to convert my Louette to also be able to sectionally warp. I think that would be a really good investment over the next few years. So I'm sort of thinking about looking into that as well. Not right now, but down the road. I think that would be really helpful as well. I have all of the accoutrement for it. I just need to actually like sort it out. Okay, let's get into some projects because that's why we're all here. Why don't we start off with I haven't made any progress on my Dashel colorway. So I told you guys about this last week. This is still the only bobbin that I have finished. I have not made any other progress on the other 2 bobbins. They are packed. They are ready to go to Mom's. If I get a chance to do some spinning over the next week, that is what I will be working on. I also have some fiber prep that I'm taking to my mom's, and I thought what we could do next episode is I would actually walk through what I've packed and what I've prepped to take with to my mom's. I just didn't get a chance to do it for today. Yeah, big warps. So if you like, what I'm thinking about for the overshot scarves is like, if one scarf is sort of between 65 and 85 inches long, then you sort of need, like if there's 36 inches per yard, I hate doing everything in inches and yards, but I haven't fully switched over to doing my weaving and stuff in meters and centimeters, and I really should. But in my mind, a stole sort of need, to be about the right length and to be about the right like fit for most people, it needs to be about 72 inches long. And so I just haven't made that like conversion to starting to work more in like meters. Anyhow, plus 5 inches of fringe on each end, so that you can have some hem stitching at each end. So 5 inches, hem stitch, weave whenever you run out of yarn, which I'm hoping will be approximately 72 inches, anywhere between 65 and 85 inches, another 5 inches for fringe. So you need to take that measurement and multiply it by 5, and that's the number of yards that I need on the loom. So plus waist. So I need to do some math, and I need to figure out exactly how many yards I need to put on. I'm hoping that about 11 to 15 yards would be about right. Probably 15 yards. Anyways, I'll talk through it on a future episode because I will be figuring it out. Okay, let's talk about spindling. Let's move on. Okay, I have been spindle spinning, and the reason that I have been spindle spinning is because I have been really consciously trying to support and go back to having a spindle practice, a 15 minutes a daily spindle practice. So this lovely Tupperware, I have never been able to find another one. My friend Dorothy, you guys all know Dorothy, she sent it to me. I have no idea where to get another one because I have never seen one at the dollar store here. But it is brilliant, and I use it for all of my spindling, and she wrote me the most loveliest note, and I keep it in the bottom permanently. It is a permanent fixture. And I have been dragging this thing around for the last few weeks. So what ended up happening was James played soccer on his high school soccer team. So just started high school, for those who are just catching up with everything and all the happenings around here. He's in grade 8, just started high school. And because his high school is quite small, they only have a senior soccer team. So they only take grade 10, 11s, and 12s. But what happened this year was there was about 4 boys that showed up to tryouts, 3 of whom were grade 8s and 1 was a grade 9. But they all play high-level competitive club soccer. And the coach was like, amazing, like we would love to have you. Most of our grade 10, 11, and 12 boys who are here don't play soccer at all, and they just love sport, and they play on our school team every year, so we would love to have you guys. So he spent September and part of October playing on this senior soccer team, senior high school soccer team, playing the other schools that don't have the same policy, that have a junior and a senior team, or only have a senior team but no juniors are allowed. So he was playing these games against these grade 10, 11, and 12 boys. And for any of you guys who have sons or have nephews or have men in your life who are between the ages of 15 and 21, you know how big they can be sometimes. And they look like men, right? They're not quite developmentally fully fledged men yet, but they are men. And they're big and they're solid, and some of them, if they're really athletic, they tend to be very muscular. So here's my little James, who's about 5'6", and 110 pounds soaking wet, playing against these grade 11 and 12 boys who are quite a bit bigger and quite a bit faster and quite a bit more physical. He was very, very, I don't even know what the right word is. He was just very timid during the games, which is not like him at all in club football. So that's when he's playing on his own team. He's quite physical, he's aggressive, he's very fast. He really gets in there, he gives it his all. But with the high school and with these big boys, he definitely was more timid and held back a little bit and didn't have that same confidence. But because of playing with these kids on this team, now that he's gone back to his regular club team, he's actually gotten quite a bit better and quite a bit more confident, and it's because of playing with these older kids. But it was causing me a lot of stress because these boys are so big and they really ram into each other. And so what I did was, after the first game, which the weather was beautiful, it was outside, and they played this other school that's quite a bit bigger, so has a much deeper pool of players and was quite a bit better. After that game, and kind of, gnawing on my fingernails the whole time, I was like, I need something to do with my hands. So I pulled out this lovely project that has been languishing for a very long time. So this was actually from October. It was Melissa's Mellyknits Guts Club, and she carded it all up. This actually only went through the drum carder one time, and if you can see, so the Guts Club got it like in bits and pieces, and then they carded it, but she carded it for me because I spun the samples for her. So if you see in the prep here, you can see some of the sari silk, the Bombix sari silk coming through. It's not like really, really, really super blended, but because it's a CVM, Gulf Coast Native and Bombic Silk, I'm not exactly sure what the percentages are. I'm so sorry, you guys. It's probably like 60, 20, 20, something like that. Knowing Melissa, it's probably something like that. You can really see the Bombics in there. You can see the streaks of it. It's not super, super, super blended, but like really nice. Anyways, I had taken the original bat that she gave me. I had spun 30 grams for her a while ago for her samples that she needed, and then she said I could keep the other 70, and I just never got to spinning it. So I pulled it out, broke it all down, broke it all apart, made it into all of these nests, and had enough that I'm almost finished spinning it. So I think I had about 10 nests, and I'm down to the last 2.5. So this first spindle here is an Ed Pretty spindle, and I love this little spindle. It actually says on the bottom how much it weighs. 24 grams. This is 24 grams, this little spindle. And as you can see, I wound the cop in sort of what I would consider a very traditional way of winding a drop spindle cop. I sort of started at the top, and I just sort of went down the shaft and then back up, and down the shaft and back up. And what ended up happening was winding a cop that I have done on drop spindles for years and never really thought anything of. But for whatever reason, I think because the notch on Ed's spindles aren't super, super deep, and they're perfectly balanced. They've got the little nails on the bottom to perfectly balance it, so that the spin on this, it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. It just does not stop. It's just a lovely balanced spindle, but the notch isn't super deep. And so by winding the cop like this, it kept popping out from here, and I had sort of forgotten about that. Whereas this is one of my Bosworth spindles that I've had for absolutely forever. Like, I think I got this spindle back in like 2014, maybe. You can see how much deeper the notch is. And I started winding the cop a little bit differently, and I wound this one like this as well, where I wound down the shaft of the spindle. And I've seen Diana do this, and Diana twist, and I've also seen Becca, who's part of our community, Bethy40 on Slack. She's one of our really, really active spindle spinners in our community. She spins almost exclusively on spindles. Whenever I have a question about spindles, I always go to her or Diana. And what I did with this one instead, and this one, like I said, was I wound down the cop, trying to keep it, again, as tight as possible. But then I wound so that I was building the cot more in the middle of the shaft and building it up sort of so that you end up with sort of almost like this like beehive shape. And this seems to have worked much better. And so with this one, I just got sick of spinning on this one. It wasn't because it was full. I could still keep winding on. This has a slightly narrower notch as well, and it worked much better in terms of catching and not popping off. So play with different ways of winding your cops. Try different things for different spindles. These are like my favorite drop spindles that I own. They're all roughly 24 grams, 22 to 24. I think this is another Ed Pretty spindle, and I think this one is, did he write on the bottom what it weighed? He did not. But you can see the little nail there to perfectly balance it. Actually, this might be a Bosworth, actually. I'm pretty sure this is a Bosworth. Yes, this is a Bosworth. So these two are Bosworth spindles by Jonathan Bosworth. And then this one is the Ed Pretty. And then my other Ed Pretty is actually upstairs. And I just, yeah, I love these spindles. I like support spindling, don't get me wrong. And I play with them, you know, I play with my support spindles. I usually have a project that I do every year that's on my support spindles. And I've been playing with my Tackly a lot lately because of spinning cotton for the School of Sweet Georgia. But you know, when it comes right down to it, I actually prefer drop spindling. This is actually my favorite. I prefer it more than supported spindling. And I think part of it is that I like slightly more worsted spun yarns. I like the type of yarn that they make. I like the motion. I like drafting on a drop spindle. I like the twist that I can get on drop spindles because I tend to roll it down my thigh. I like that I can stand. I also like that I can sit and move around. Yeah, I really love drop spindling. I think it's probably actually my favorite thing. I don't do it very often, but I've been really trying to work it back into my daily practice. And one of the people that really inspired me with going back to a daily spindling practice was actually my friend Diana Twist. She had posted recently, I think it was on Instagram, but she often cross posts to Slack. So I can't remember if it was Instagram, but I think it was Instagram. I don't think it was on Slack. She posted a photo of her recent spindles all filled up. It was a beautiful photo of all of her supported spindles. And, you know, she wrote in the caption, like, this is what spinning every day, you know, for 15 minutes. And I know often she's able to spin for a bit longer than that, but that's kind of like her bare minimum, if you will, looks like. And, you know, it's just that consistency of doing it every day, right? And amassing that amount of singles every day. And then all of a sudden you've got like a ton of yarn. So I've been working on this every day. I've been really intentionally trying to do one of these bumps every day. And I was actually spinning this one. I got a little tiny bit done while Dion was sharing with us about SpinDecember. So I am definitely getting there with this project. It will be done probably by the end of the week. Even with everything happening this week, I'm pretty sure that I'll have this done. So let me just put this all back together because otherwise I will go to move it and I will drop it, and that would be really terrible. Oh yeah, I put a sticker on on this box. Just love this shape and this size. Like, I don't know where Dorothy got it, but let me tell you, it is awesome. It is a fantastic box. My table needs to be cleaned, I can tell. All right, let's move on to, I think we're going to talk about knitting next, actually, because I need to move my dress form for the final project that I was going to share with you. And I just realized I don't think I have the, oh yeah, I do. Never mind. Okay, yeah, let's talk about knitting next, because this is kind of a fun one. Okay, thanks for telling me, Dorothy. She said she got it from Amazon. I don't know if I'd be able to find the same one on Amazon.ca, but I'll look. It is just like the best sized box. I love it. Okay, I started a new knitting project over the past week because I needed a new knitting project, like I needed another hole in my head. But I was really, really inspired by my friend Beatrix of Fiber and Forge, and I was at her place back in October because she had a farm tour. And I just realized I'm on the wrong Instagram account, so let me just go to the right Instagram account. And I really try not to show photos on Instagram with my phone anymore because it really, quite a few people over the years have said to me, like, we really can't see the photo very well. But unfortunately, and I agree with you, I totally hear you. The only thing is that in this case, I can't, I actually forgot to grab a photo. So I'm very sorry in advance for having to show you on Instagram. But this is from Beatrix, and she was wearing this the day of the farm tour of her open house, and I just loved it, and it looks so cute on her. She's not super tall, and she cropped it, very similar fit to my pressed flowers. So a little bit shorter sleeves, and a little bit closer fit with the sleeves, and then a slightly cropped body. And she had hers a little bit shorter than my pressed flowers. So like if I just back up for a sec, my pressed flowers comes to like below my hip bone. Hers was like here, like her cardigan comes to about here, and then she had this really cute dress on. It was really lovely. Anyways, the cardigan itself is just super sweet. And so I asked her what the pattern was, and she said, oh, I can send it to you because it is out of copyright. It's super old. So it is from Regency Wools Limited. It is leaflet number 13, and Regency Wools, of course, was based out of Dublin in Ireland. And this is the original sweater. So again, I'm sorry to not have like a beautiful little photo montage to show you, but we just have to sometimes roll with it. So what Beatrix did was, in the original here, there's actually a pocket. It's hard to see even on the printout, but there is actually a pocket here with ribbing, 1x1 ribbing. And you cast on, it's a seamed sweater, it's knit in pieces, and you cast it on down here and knit up, and then obviously you add the pocket and you keep going. Beatrix skipped the pocket. And then for the sleeves, she knit them quite a bit closer, and she made them just a little bit longer than 3/4, sort of more of like a bracelet length. So she sort of just tightened it up a little bit, and it's a little bit more close fitting. So it sort of hangs a little bit more like my pressed flowers. So she made a couple of changes and a couple of modifications, but like really sweet sweater. So I had on my dress form behind me for the last number of weeks my Lakes cardigan that I had done out of my combo spin. And I think that I have it here to show you. If I don't, it's because I forgot to add it. Just give me a second, let me show you this yarn. So this yarn was a combo spin from, it was a combination of Targhee and Polwarth and silk, and then I threw in this like really crazy colored, really bright blue, sari silk, Bombix sari silk. And I spun and spun and spun, and I ended up making a hawser yarn, and then this was the yarn that I ended up knitting into the Lakes cardigan. So this was the yarn that had been sitting behind me as, I'm just going to slow down the slideshow, it's a little bit too fast. So this was the yarn, this was the finished yarn that I have had sitting behind me on the dress form with needles sticking out of it. This fabric. And the Lakes cardigan is by Haley Smedley Ozetta on Ravelry. And I really, really, really like the cardigan, but I made the opposite problem of this one. I made the, words, Rachel. The drop shoulder is way too deep. And it, hang on, just let me fix something. It's really bothering me. The drop shoulder, so now you can actually see my arm while I'm chatting. The drop shoulder was very, very deep. So it was sort of like another 3 to 4 inches deeper than this. And so when I went to pick up the sleeves, we talked about this on the podcast a couple weeks ago. When I went to pick up the sleeves were absolutely massive. And then because it's a saddle shoulder, you had the saddle coming down, and it didn't, like, it made the whole yoke of the cardigan was just way too big for me. And then because you knit in one piece from the drop, once you've built the front and the back, then you knit in one piece the rest of the way. And because it's a sort of a semi-cropped, similar in length to this, when I tried it on and when I had it on the dress form, I just felt like everything was just too big, and then the bottom was like too small. So you end up creating kind of this hourglass shape that doesn't work for me at all. And it's part of, I realized after the last episode that it's also what was really bothering me about my metamorphic, that I sort of knit off the cuff, wasn't really following the pattern. I'd knit it before, sort of knew what I was doing. Famous last words. It was the same issue when I had it the other day on the dress form, and I was saying to you guys, like, all the gathering and stuff through the yoke. It was the same thing. The yoke was too big, and then the rest of the sweater was a little bit too small. And that, as I thought about it for a couple days after, that was what I figured out was what I didn't like. And I don't think I have a photo of the Lakes cardigan on my dress form to show you, but basically I ended up taking a big leap of faith the other day, and I actually just ripped it out. And so because I knew that I had gauge with this, so that yarn, which is the 4-ply Hauser, I knew worked with this. So let me just grab the knitting out. So I have had quite a few false starts with this, quite a few. And the reason is because you know how some yarn is just really pops in the cable, and it's round and it's got really great structure and it just really has a lot of stitch definition. This yarn is not like that. For whatever reason, this yarn is quite soft in the cable. And so it took me a little bit to sort of play around with needle size and gauge to figure out what would work really super well for this particular yarn knit at this particular gauge, because I still was getting 6 stitches per inch, whether I was on 3.75 millimeter needles or 3.5 millimeter needles. So I had the right stitch gauge. I knew I was off by my row gauge by a couple of rows regardless. So if I have to knit a few more rows to get the right depth, that's totally fine. But I knew I had the right stitch gauge. And so in the end, I did end up going with the 3.75 millimeter needles, or US size 5. And it's coming out really beautifully. So as you can see, this is the back. And then I also started the front. Hang on, I don't want to pull everything, pull my stitches out, because that would like be on brand for this week, like to like pull something out of my knitting bag and then my needles pop out and everything goes to something in a handbasket. That would be like on brand this week. That would fit. And then this is the one of the fronts. So this is one of the fronts, and you can see the diamond pattern here, which is this here, and then the lattice. I think she calls it a trellis pattern, or they call it a trellis pattern in the pattern itself. So the pocket, I am going to add the pocket. The pocket fits in right here. So as I work, once I'm finished the diamond pattern, one full repeat of it, then you place the pocket. And it's sort of a very traditional way of placing the pocket, where you place stitches on hold and then add the pocket insert in behind. So I've got the pockets on hold here, and I just have to actually like place them when I get there. So that very like intuitive. These older patterns, one of the things that I wanted to mention, if you are, what is going on here? I have like all this stuff happening. If you are knitting some of these old vintage patterns, there is an unbelievable amount of assumed knowledge. They don't give a ton of instructions, and I think we are so used to being spoiled in terms of like overly explaining things, supporting patterns with videos, you know, video links from the designer, offering pattern support, basically 24/7, which, you know, often I think is probably not completely fair. And it just makes you realize when you get these old patterns, there is just an unbelievable amount of just assumed knowledge where it's like, you know, you're just kind of expected to kind of know what to do. There's no chart for the charted cable pattern. So like I could spend the time and I could plug it into a chart. It would probably be easier, to be honest with you. It's also a very intuitive pattern, especially the trellis. I'm finding that I don't really need to follow along with the pattern because it's just very intuitive how the trellis moves. It moves every right-sided row, and then it crosses here. These little things here, they cross on the wrong side row. So once you figure that out, it's like, oh, okay. So as soon as they're together, then they're crossing on the next wrong side row. So this you can kind of do intuitively. With the moss stitch inside the diamond is actually very, very intuitive as well. There were a lot of extra rows to cross the diamond and then keep on going. That was a bit weird. Yeah, just really interesting. And then I did add on the each side of the back and one side of the front, the inner seam side, I added an extra stockinette stitch for ease of seaming. It just will make it so much easier to seam once I get there. Ruth is wondering if I will do bracelet length sleeves. I seem to recall you don't like those. Actually, I love bracelet length. I don't like 3/4 length. That's a very good memory there, Ruth. Very good memory. Yeah, like this is bracelet length and I really like it, but the 3/4, I don't like it. I like it to be just a little bit longer. My pink velvet, those sweaters have bracelet length. This has a bracelet length. To be honest with you, it's going to depend on how much yarn I have and whether or not I have enough to do full length sleeve or if I have to do a bracelet length. I have a lot of yarn and I have an entire other skein of this. It's even bigger than this that I didn't even touch for the Lakes cardigan. So I know that I have enough yarn. It's just a matter of cables will always suck up a bit more yarn, and yeah, we'll just see. But I will make the sleeves closer fit. I won't make them as loose as the original pattern. You can see here like that the model probably had quite a heavy shirt underneath because you can kind of see it bunching in here. Maybe a long sleeve shirt underneath or a blouse or something. It doesn't look like there's a blouse collar here, but because of her head, her handkerchief on her head. But this is definitely like quite a bit of extra fabric, and personally, I would prefer something a little bit less. So if it means taking out some of the moss stitch underneath the arm, which is what the sleeve fills in with, I'll just take that out, which is what Beatrix did. So that is my plan, and I'm having fun with it. I'm actually surprised how much it doesn't look like much, but I'm actually surprised how much I've been able to get done. And Beatrix did, I think, on the original pattern, you can see that the diamond repeats 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And I think Beatrix only did 3 repeats before she separated for the raglan. So I thought what I would do is when I finish the third diamond, I would put it on, hold it onto my body, put it on my dress form and kind of see approximately where it hits and where it sits. And then we'll go from there. So really fun. Okay, let's move right along because I can't believe the time. And Nora has a volleyball game this afternoon. I have to go pick her up. So let me grab my dress form and we'll talk about my finished object. Okay, this is actually kind of an easy sweater to share with you guys. on the dress form because it's not very big, and it's really quite cute, and it like fits in the frame. You know how sometimes some of the sweaters, like they're long or the sleeves are long and it's hard to see, but this one we can see all of it. So this is the finished sweater. It is done. Not everything is woven in. All of the ends are not woven in. I'll tell you why in a second. I ended up being really happy with this. I had a little bit of a moment of like, oh, sweet mother of pearl, what is going to happen? And I was just about ready to be like, oh no, and start to look at making the squares, making more squares, maybe getting more of the scruff colorway from Megan and spinning more up and doing a Jethro. Like I was really kind of on the fence and feeling a bit like, oh, I don't know about this. But it ended up working out well in the end, ish. I have some ends here that I have to weave in. So there's a couple of things about this that I would do differently next time, but there's also a couple of things that I would do exactly the same. So let me show you the back. This is just like a really sweet pattern. It's by Brittany Lynn. She's quite active on Instagram. She's also quite active on Ravelry. As you can see, all of these like sunburst, little squares are, it goes from a circle into a square. So every row you're doing something different, but it's easy to memorize. What I did with the yarn, let me just show you the yarn first. So there's 3 yarns in this pattern that I used. So the first is the Bramble Ridge. It was the scruff colorway, and it was in BFL. I spun it as a traditional 4-ply. It was very, very like stereotypical, you know, continuous back, wound 4 bobbins, etc. Like just super, super, super simple. This was the original colorway here. Very neutral. The colorway scruff was Megan's homage to men's beards. And so that's why all the colors, because it was a 4-ply, I could use all of my smaller bobbins, which I actually prefer on my rows. The ratios that I get on my rows are a little bit higher, so the wheel can go a little bit faster. I think the highest ratio is like 28:1 or something. And I find with the smaller bobbins and the smaller flyer, it really hums. It spins really nicely. There's no backspin or tug. It's just really smooth. I really, really like the lace bobbins, the black ones there in that photo, for spinning fine and spinning, you know, not massive amounts. So that was the first yarn, and that's the majority of the squares. So like all this square, these two, this one, those are all scruff. So those 3 and then these 3 here. And on the front, same thing. It's all the scruff. And then the solid color brown was actually held double. So I took from the inside and the outside of the center pull ball here. And this was Kingdom Fleece and Fiberworks Fin and Silk. It was a blend that Liz did like back in 2022, I want to say. I think it was 80% fin, 20% silk. I spun it as a fine 2-ply. It's a lace weight. It's very, very soft. It's really, really lovely yarn. If you can believe, I cranked the twist into it, and yet it still doesn't look like it's a really super high twist yarn. And that's all of these solid colored squares. And also it's all of the 1x1 ribbing that you see that frames the vest. And then the last, the last yarn that I used, this is me laying it out and seeing how many squares I had and how many I needed to put in. The last one that I did was a Romney C-Cell blend that I actually had leftover yarn from a spinning and weaving project for Weft magazine. So the very first issue of Weft magazine, issue number 1, which was plain weave, I did a extensive article on twist direction, and I carded and spun a Romney C-Cell. It was 60/40. I put the C-Cell in there for drape and sheen with the Romney, and this was the last of the yarn. Again, lace weight. I set it on the loom at, I feel like it was set at like 15 ends per inch. It might have even been finer than that. And so crocheted to fit the gauge with these squares with the 4-ply in the scruff. Same as with the Kingdom, I held it double. So that's all of the creamy white squares that just add pop and sheen. The light catches them really beautifully, and you can really see in real life, like these really shine, and it just adds pop and interest more than anything, because otherwise the overall sweater would be very flat. I did hide one of them underneath the arm because I was feeling like there was a few too many of them. I wish for the scruff colorway, I wished I could have banged out like 2 more and had like this one and maybe like this one or this one, like one of them be still the scruff colorway. But regardless, I didn't have enough and it worked out really well. And actually I only have a little tiny bit of the yarn left. Where I really hit a snafu was this neck. Brittany says in the pattern to pick up quite a lot of stitches and to fit in about 8 stitches. And the original pattern is free on her blog, by the way. You can get the fully graded pattern and the download like the sizing and so on her, like from her on Ravelry. I think it's also available on her website, but there's also a free version that's like more of like a tutorial. So that's what I used because the size that she made is roughly the size that I needed, and my squares were within about 1/2 inch of her squares. Mine were a teeny tiny bit bigger. So I just used her free pattern on her blog, and she has a really great blog post about connecting the squares and using whip stitch. That was something that I would pay attention to next time, is which direction you're whip stitching so that they all match. Most of mine match, but some of them don't. Some of them, the whip stitch goes the wrong way. And then when you get to the corners, there's like a snafu because it's not seamless. It doesn't go, it switches direction. So I had to play with that a little bit and redo a couple of the corners. But because you need to pick up extra stitches in all of the corners to make the collar work and to get enough space and enough ease to get it over your head, I ended up adding on the front and the back extra stitches into the square that meets in the middle. So like, I don't know if I can show you, but like if you have all of the squares meeting like here under the arm, I didn't have to add extra picked up stitches to the corner of this one, but in the collar I did, because otherwise I wouldn't have had enough ease. So I redid the collar 5 times, and I finished this latest collar yesterday because I had a few minutes to sit and I've been watching Slow Horses on Apple TV. I'm not a big TV fan. I don't watch a lot of TV. I just don't have time. It's not something that I make a priority. If I'm going to sit and spin for a while, I more often will listen to an audiobook. I find TV very overstimulating in a lot of ways, but I've been really enjoying that show. My husband recommended it, and I've been really enjoying it. Anyway, so I was watching another episode and I fixed it yesterday. So I haven't washed and blocked this, but the collar took some extra finagling. And so I added those extra stitches in here and on the back collar as well. So if you're gonna make one of these and you're kind of crocheting up a storm, and her vest is just a straight granny square. Mine, I did a different square. So I did the sunburst from Burst Crochet. It's called the Burst Crochet Granny Square. It's from Mallory Crawl. And so I did that square instead of the granny square in place of. And so it's the same pattern, same layout, just different squares. And I really like how it came out. You can see that my yarns that normally hang here on the branch are gone. Obviously they had to get packed and they had to get put away. I'm actually thinking after all these years about doing something with those yarns, because they've been sitting there on the branch forever, and it would be nice to finally do something with them. And that was the organic Polwarth breed and color study that we did back in, oh my goodness, the colorway was graffiti. What was the year though? 2020. So that yarn has been sitting there for almost 6 years. So I was actually thinking I have so much of it because we did a control colorway for that study, and then we also did one with white added. And so some of the colorways are a bit muted and then some of them are brighter. And so I kind of thought that doing a bunch of these would be kind of fun to see like how you know, how they come out, like how the squares come out, and I could make them, you know, whatever size they come out. I could just crochet up all the yarn from all those skeins, make as many of these as I possibly can, and then if I have enough, I could do a Jethro. And just lay them out. And it could be like a cropped Jethro if I wanted it to be, if I don't have enough squares. And then I could do white for the collar, the ribbing, and the connecting. Like, you know how with the Jethro you frame each of the squares, and so it kind of sets them off like as if they're in kind of picture boxes, if you will. I sort of thought what I could do is use up all of my all of that yarn from the branch. I love the branch. Kind of don't want to like give up my branch, but I'll find other yarn to go on the branch. So you see how with the Jethro, let me just show you here. See how with the Jethro, I don't know what the best way, see how right down here, you see how each granny square is framed by the white, and you use that as like a seamless way of connecting all of the squares, and then you pick up, just like on this, you pick up and do the button band, and that's all in the solid color, and it's all in that same yarn, and it contributes to this overall cohesiveness to the sweater. It's the same with this. Like if you have the same solid colored ribbing that goes around the bottom here and here, as well as the whip stitch that goes all the way through the whole thing, it just kind of brings like an overall cohesion to the feel of the sweater. So I sort of thought if I used all of that organic Polwarth and all of that yarn that's been hanging there on my branch for years and years, because the branch is no longer going to be there after the renos are done. There's not going to be space. You guys will see why. Yeah, I kind of thought it'd be kind of fun to use all that up. So we will see. We will see. That is what I am thinking. I'm going to put this back, and we are going to get into, let's just make sure that I have it ready to go, because at this point anything is possible. Just give me one sec here, and we will do community participation next, because it is getting on in time, and you guys have been so unbelievably patient and amazing. So let me just find it here, and I will move this back while that is running. Thank you. Yeah, so this is from Megan. We have a big community participation today because you guys have been sharing all the things and doing all of the stuff. And you guys, so yeah, let's get into it. Megan knitted up all of these like gourds and acorns and leaves, and then she created this sort of Thanksgiving fall inspired being thankful sort of display, and I just thought it was so lovely. This is from Ellie, and okay, let me read first and then we can chat. At my cabin this weekend, and here I spin stash Samoyed wools, 40-60 blend, so 40% Samoyed, 60% wool. Spinning from the cloud, 3-ply. The Samoyed makes the singles break very easily, and it was quite a struggle to ply them. Today I finished 343 meters of this 3-ply. I will keep on fighting with the cloud tomorrow. It's very soft yarn. My plan is to knit the Sophie hood from Petite Knit with this yarn and then dye the hood after it is finished. Well done, Eliane. Like, this is incredible. And yes, Samoyed Shangora, there's no scales like what we would expect in wool or in sheep's wool. So you need a lot of twist, even with the 60% wool in there. And you're probably, with it breaking, it's probably just you need a bit more twist. Kudos to you, Eliane, for spinning it. I have a thing about dog hair. I don't know why. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. I have no idea why. There is no like reasonable reason for it. And then you see yarns like this and I think, oh, that's just so beautiful. I just can't. And my cousin, him and his wife have a Malamute, beautiful Malamute named Thor. And they've been collecting all of his fiber and we've been passing it along to Melissa. And I want to spin them some and like do a toque or something for Sherry, for my cousin's wife. I call her my cousin too, but she's not really, but she's wonderful. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to. I might need like therapy. I don't know why. I just have a thing. And so well done, Eliane, because this is beautiful yarn, just gorgeous. And your spinning wheel is beautiful as well. This is from Harem. This is beautiful hand-dyed braid from Jen of Wee Chickadee Fibers. It's a Falkland, and she was selling it at cost because it didn't turn out the way she wanted. So of course Harem totally benefited. She spun up the 7.5 ounces and she knitted the Jaunty shawl by Andrea Mowry. Life is busy at the moment and Jaunty was the perfect distraction with its easy pattern. So squishy and a great addition to my winter accessories. And how beautiful is that? Gorgeous, Harem. This is from Sam. It was so funny when I saw this yarn and I saw the color. I immediately thought tartan, and it was so funny because that's what Sam thought. So she spun this, excuse me, sorry you guys, Hanui fiber. It was gifted to her from Eve, who is one of our very active community members. She wished she had done it sooner because it is beautiful to spin. Hanui is truly something special. If you have access to Hanui or you can spin some Hanui, like honestly, you guys, it is incredible. How many people who are watching today in chat have actually had the opportunity to spin Hanui? And what did you think? It's the Romney, or is it the Lincoln? Is it Romney or Lincoln? I can't remember. That influences the merino stock that they initially used in New Zealand. It's a specific farm to create this new breed called Hanui, and like it's just awesome. Spins a little bit more like a long stapled Corriedale, but it has that feel of a long wool, but the softness of a merino, and it's wonderful. Just over 400 yards from 100 grams. Reminds me of Black Watch tartan. Totally. It reminds me of tartan. Yeah. I've got some, but I haven't spun it yet, says Christine. A certain style. I can't remember. What's your first name again? I can't remember. I know who you are. A couple of braids from Megan Waiting in Stash. Maria says it in Melly's Advent last year. It was so gorgeous. Glenda says she has some, but she hasn't spun it yet. Glenda, get on it. And then Pauline says she's got some in her stash from Bramble Ridge. Yeah, you guys need to spin some. We should have a Hanui along. This is from Kat. Years ago, I created a BFL silk linen blend at World of Wool, and I wanted to use this as a base again. It's quite pleasant to wear next to skin, so it was a good one to just throw on when it gets a bit chillier. I ordered 500 grams of the blend. I split it into braids of 100 grams that I hand painted and then set in my dedicated electric steamer. The first braid I split vertically into two halves, having dyed in such a manner that I knew the two halves would mirror each other. And then I split the halves in half again vertically and stripped lengthwise once I had got 8 nests per half, which I spun all in the same color sequence. The resulting braid was quite barber pole-y, and I don't like barber pulled yarns. I don't know why I was thinking I'd like this one, but to be fair, it's grown on me a little bit since I took it off the Nitty Naughty, but it was still a general sense of no. I actually really like it, Kat. I wonder if you use the two skeins together. I bet you it would take away from that barber pulling and just come out as one cohesive feeling garment, a shawl or a stole. So she carded the other one and into a longer, more gentler color transitions, and it's much more to my liking. And you can see there the skein that's on the right hand side of the two is the carded one. Beautiful cat, lovely. Oh yeah, Nicole, of course. Sorry, Nicole. I knew it was someone. I knew it was you. Yeah, and Dagmar was finding that her YouTube name had changed as well. Because Nicole, yeah, you always had it, and now it's gone back to your old name, which is kind of funny. Because you used to always show up as a certain style, and then you started showing up as Nicole. So it's funny how that happens. And Dagmar was saying her YouTube username has changed as well. So it's funny. This is from Lisa. This is just pure fun play, and I loved this so much. Lisa spends a lot of time outside on their property and walking, and there's a bit of a joke in our community about stupid walks for our stupid mental health, and you know, just valuing that time that we need to get outside and just how good it is for our mental health, and kind of, you know, making fun of ourselves a little bit about it. So if you're new to the community and you see somebody post SMH as an acronym, it's stupid walks for my stupid mental health. And it's a long-standing ongoing joke. So I decided to make some leaf art yarn. Like, how cool is this? You can see the yarn, like the twisted structure of this yarn. The plies are gladiolus leaves that were dried and then left out in the rain. And the leaves are a variety from my walks. I have about 18 yards of this because when I got tired, I told myself I would stop when I can't even say it. Ina Gada Davida was over, and it was a long version. I love this, Lisa. Love this. And anybody who knows that song knows what she's talking about. So much fun. And I saw this on Slack, and I was just like, I loved it. I think she posted this on Instagram as well. This is from Corolla. Finished this autumn's main project, a self-drafted all over cabled sweater for my partner. Isn't this incredible? And he's a great model as well. First time self-drafting a set-in sleeve top down, resulting in the yoke and sleeve caps being reknitted and frogged multiple times. Well done, Corolla, for sticking with it. But after several stints in the basket of shame, we got there in the end. This is beautiful, and I hope he values the work that you put in, and it's beautiful, and it looks awesome on him. All right, there's been a lot of dyeing and prep in our community recently. So this is from Maryland. You guys can watch the pretty video while I chat. Years ago, when I started buying fleeces, I bought some primary dyes, warm and cool, and I dyed a whole range of samples. I had no scale or tools to measure the dyes, and I used the results to guide me in dyeing my fleeces. Look at all these reds, aren't they incredible? Fast forward 12 years, and I decided exploring color would be my summer project. I got out all my dyes and bought a few more and systematically created samples of primary, secondary, and tertiary colors, as well as mixing them with a few non-primary colors. I think these might be my favorite, as well as the tertiary colors. They're just more complex and interesting, that's why. I love mixing colors just to see what I can get. Maybe next year I'll see how the color mixes with black and brown dyes. I've been so inspired by this that I pulled out my watercolor paints just to play. My next project is to choose some colors to dye some roving. Amazing, Maryland. What a great project. And this one is from Susan. Pre-COVID, I bought this. The stash from a retiring fiber artist. He had pounds of dyed fleece, which I carded into bats and stored for my work on my work shelf, which took up a ton of space. I'm making a concerted effort this summer to spin up some of this, even though there's not a specific project in mind. Yeah, but Susan, that yarn, isn't this incredible? I love it. Love this yarn. Over dyeing a bunch of the lime greens and yellows would have been an option, but I really had no energy for it, and so my intention was just to play with color. I applied and saw the colors do their magic. The resulting yarn is complex. The colors are vibrant, but not in my face, and I love it. Yes, Susan, they are fantastic. Gives me courage to play with some other mixes that I may not initially have seen the beauty in. Beautiful. That should be like the motto of like everything. Just playing and having the courage to try things, even though we might not initially see the beauty in it. All right, Year of Yarn. This is our ongoing book study and for our Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs that everybody's been working through with Rebecca in the Wool Circle. And here are some of the experiments that have been coming out for people in the last little while. This is from Alberto. Super coils are not for me. The Angora single as a core didn't work. The smallest sample was what I could make before a severe over twisting switched to a thin cotton core and it snapped. The dark, and then he had some other samples as well. I tossed at least 4 failed samples and switched wheels. Okay, done. Next. I know this was not Alberto's favorite, but he did it. That counts. This is from Esther. How beautiful is this yarn? This is her super coiled yarn. The result is so pretty and fun to look at. I used a cotton core and I split the 4 ounces merino braid to try sampling. The fiber was hard to spin smooth single, so it was very textured, and the fiber I used had some residual dye on my hands, which I think caused a very minor allergic reaction. I'm sorry, Esther, and I hope that your skin is okay. The hanging skein is prior to washing, not much twist, surprisingly. You can control the twist in these super coiled yarns and not have it completely like take over quite easily, and then when you wash it or steam it, whatever you choose to do, they can hang relatively straight sometimes. So yeah, really well done, Esther. And then this is her other sample that she did with beehives. So this was one of the other things that that Rebecca did recently on the Wool Circle. Used a spindle this time for the core and it worked super nicely. Rebecca showed a way of doing it on the Wool Circle with spindles so that you don't, basically for bobbin management as you're drawing your core from it and having your hands going at the same time. It just kind of gives you an opportunity to basically keep everything from getting tangled. And Esther said that she also locked in the hives so that they won't shift around. Just beautiful. Well done, Esther. I love seeing everybody's experiments. And then this is a really exciting thing to share. It's just one slide this time round. Somebody who is an incredible community member as part of our stuff here at Wool and Spinning. She's been very much a part of our community for a long time. She did all of the branding, all of these things, the spindle whorls and whatnot for me over the a few years ago, and kind of helped me to make everything look and feel a little bit more branded and a little bit more united and not so choppy. And this is our dear friend Amanda. So she finally has a picture of her latest project installed for a recent critique. This was a gallery show that she did. It's called Them That Hold the Weight of Air. It is linen singles, 12-1, and a 4-layer double weave. And isn't that incredible? Well done, Amanda, and we are cheering for you. I know life has been busy for you the last year and you've had a lot of changes, but we're celebrating with you in your gallery show because that is just incredible, amazing. So thank you everybody for sharing everything that you do, for participating in our community, for being here. We obviously really appreciate it, and as we continue to grow and you know, offer more and more things, it's just wonderful for us all to be here and to be together and to talk about our passion that is hand spun and hand spinning and using our hand spun in our projects. So thank you so much for a very full show. I hope that you guys have a wonderful couple of weeks. Reminder that the Wool Circle next week will stream 1 hour later. And until then, happy spinning, happy knitting, happy weaving, happy crocheting for those of you who've gotten that bug alongside me. And I hope that you guys have a really wonderful weekend. Bye everyone.